So having worked on the door locks, the actual keyholes a few days ago, I'm now working on the innards and the actual handles and so forth. And while I'm at it, I did do the other electric window motor compared to the one I did, well, months ago actually. But I've got to replace lots of things. Everything in this car that was not fiberglass, everything that could rust was indeed very, very rusty. And that even included the metal behind these door handles and the operating rods. And I'm going to show you the original operating rod, which I'm having to copy to make a new one. I tried to do something with this one, but as you can probably see here, well, the end snapped off basically because I was trying to straighten it. The amount of pitting on this rod is amazing due to rust. So I'm going to make new ones, and it turns out that the rod that I can easily buy, which is I think this is 4mm, there's a little piece of it here, and this stuff I think is 1/8 of an inch, which is 3.2mm or something. So it is a bit thicker. There's not ever so much in it, but yeah, it's a little bit thicker, and those have to be joined in with these joining thing. This is the original door handle. Can you see how rusty it is? The chrome has just completely gone. So I got new ones, well, new second-hand ones, obviously. So anyway, I'm making new ones of those, and I just need to get the lengths and so on just right. So these are replacement door handles now. Aficionados of various British-made Austin Rover Group cars of the 1970s, 80s and possibly 90s will recognise these handles as being used on, I don't know, TR7s, Austin Allegros, Morris Marinas. Lots of cars had these basic flap style handles, and they're not bad actually. So I don't think I'll change them. But yeah, this one, I think this one actually came from an Austin Maxi, which, as you see, is in way better condition than the one that came out of the Gilban. I did have to remove some bracketry, which was welded on the end there, and drill 2 holes to mimic the original fixing. Not too hard, but I also need to replace this operating rod. Now, unfortunately, as I've said, the end broke off, but also unfortunately, this is the only one I've got. I think the others got cut up so badly I just threw them away. So I need to copy them with this rod, 4mm rod that I've got, and it's pretty simple stuff. The rod presses into this joiner thing with a right angle bend. Now, because the rod is slightly thicker, I did actually have to pinch it into place like that, but no problem. And now I have to fit it into the door and get the length just right, so that it connects up with the actual latch mechanism on the door lock. So I'm not exactly sure how long this needs to be, and not only that, there's not really any adjustment. Once you've put the right angle bend, that's it. The only adjustment that exists is by the angle of this bend and how high up you have there's a slider thing which fits on here, and exactly where you have that. So I need to do some adjustments. I need to fit the handle back in the door, and then I need to connect it up with the actual door latch, and hope that the additional thickness, which is quite visible actually, is not too much of a nuisance. So the door handle operates like this. Inside the door, obviously, you pull this flap, and it pulls in the operating rod. So that is the door opening flap, and it's connected inside there somewhere. So you pull this flap, it pulls the rod, and the rod attaches to the door lock, which is similar to this one, and this way up. No, sorry, this way up. It pulls that, and that unlocks the door. Now it's a good idea actually. Now this one is actually locked, which I did by forcing it with a screwdriver. So if I can do this one off the car. Right, so that's now unlocked. But the thing is, when it's unlocked, or as if the door is open, you can't pull on this lever. It's locked. So that's why I like to, again, latch the door as if the door was closed, like that. And now I can operate the lever, which hasn't got a lot of movement on it, but at least it's got some. So I've got another one of those inside the door here, and the question is, exactly how long should my operating rod be in order to do the business? So I'm just going to put that back into the door, which goes, the rod goes through this slot here. There we go. So I've had to feed that in, avoiding the window lifting arm and anything else, window channels and so on, that were in there. So it's through a hole in the door. So I need to get it into position to attach this lever, which is just up here. Now you won't be able to see that because it's just too far up inside the door. But of course the awkward thing is that well, I've cut the rod a bit long at the minute, so I can't kind of lift it up, so I'm going to have to cut pieces off until I get enough adjustment to do it. I think that's the way to go. So at the moment, yeah, it's quite a lot. At the moment you can see, if I've got this rod fairly horizontal inside the door, the rod length is definitely far too long. So I think I'm going to cut about 2 inches off for the time being, and I'll need to allow enough so I can do a right angle bend on the end of it. So I'll cut 2 inches off to start with and go from there. Right, so I've cut a couple of inches off that operating rod, so I can at least get it inside the door in a sensible way. Now, can I get any sight? It's too dark in there. I'm going to get a torch. Okay, so here's the inside of my door, and this is the operating arm I want to connect up with. It's right up here, and not very easy to get at, to be fair, and probably you've got a slightly better view of it than I have, actually. That's not saying a lot. So this operating rod needs to go right up here. The question is whether that is a sensible... there's a bit of a giveaway here. I've got it kind of in line, but look where my handle has moved to. I think this is telling me that it's still about 1 inch too long. So I think I'll lop a little bit more off and come back again. Right, I've shortened the operating rod a little bit, about 1 inch off. The handle's actually now bolted in, and I think this is looking quite a good size, a good length. Has to go into this arm just up here. So what I need to do is to create a right angle so that it goes 90 degrees that way, right at the end, and then that will allow me to connect up this operating arm. But obviously that needs to be done on the bench. So I'll take that off, bend it, come back. Now I'm going to bend the end of this rod over, but the thing is, at which angle exactly should I bend it? Because if I bend it 90 degrees here, when you look at it from this angle, 90 degrees here is actually slightly uphill. So it needs to be bent 90 degrees compared to the horizontal shaft. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it in the vise here at an angle, less of it, like that. But I'm going to bend it right over horizontally, so it's I can't think how to explain this. It's in the same plane as the horizontal part. That's what I mean. So same plane. So it's 90 degrees compared to the horizontal part of the main rod, and that will mean that when it attaches to this type of arm, it's not going uphill in any way. It will just come in and plug in the side like it's meant to. So we'll just bang it over. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So it's 90 degrees compared to the main shaft. And if I had done it this way, you know what, I'm not sure this has made any difference. I mean, 90 degrees is 90 degrees, right? But I've done it wrong. It is actually going, if I look down the shaft, even though I tried to not do this, can you see that? The end part appears to be going slightly uphill. So I'm going to have to twist it. Yeah, so even though I tried to avoid this happening, it happened anyway, so I'm just going to put a spanner on the end of it and twist it. And if anything, that's going to set me downhill now. Too much! I guess this is something you could adjust. Well, I'm adjusting it. So, is that? I think that looks pretty good actually. Yeah, so getting the tip, the angle of the tip, to be 90 degrees in the plane of the straight part to the bent part, and then turn right, rather than it going in any way up or downhill. That's my point. I hope you can get this. It's quite complicated. So now this isn't the right lock, but it needs to go in here. Now this is quite hard actually, because as I've mentioned, this rod is actually slightly too thick. And I did put it on the belt sander and taper the end slightly. Will it be sufficient? I don't know. No, it's not sufficient. So my tapering was not enough. That's a nuisance. Now this problem of the thickness is kind of self-inflicted, because I couldn't get the right size rod. Oh well, if I had managed to get the 1/8 inch or 3.2 whatever, then I would have not had this problem. But since I have got it, I'm using a power file to kind of slim the end down a bit. Seems to be working quite well. And now hopefully it goes in. Yes. Okay, so that goes into the rod, into the catch quite well, and this spring clip I think will be fine because it's quite springy. So right, so let's hope it's the right length. Right, so I need to join up this with the handle, and I need to do it through this hole here, and unfortunately that's right where the window winder is, so I'm going to have to take the window winder out in order to give me a little bit more access, and then I can put it back in again afterwards. Okay, so I've got the winder out, and now I've got this and I've got that, and I should be able to put some together, but I will also point out the reason for wanting to do it that way is because if you look inside the door, it's very constricted up there. So what I've had to do is to attach the rod to the lock and then poke it in through the door that way. So that's fully attached to the mechanism, and I just need to now attach it to the handle. Let's see how easy that is to do. Put the handle through there. And see if I can join the two bits together. And what I'm feeling here is maybe taking the glass out would have been a good idea as well. But let's see if I can avoid doing that. I'm doing it all by feel, of course. Yeah, this is a fiddle. I think what I'm seeing here is the rod is still slightly too long. Now I could shorten it by putting a bit more bend in there. But I think that's probably about as much bend as I'm likely to want, to be honest. Pushing the glass right up. Obviously going to want to fall down again almost straight away. I think I'll fix it up with some tape. Right, that was a bit of a fiddle to say the least, but I have actually got the handle now connected to the mechanism, and it didn't need shortening, or at least if it did, by nowhere near as much as I was thinking. So I can probably take out any slack with a alteration of that bend. But yeah, it operates the lock, which is pretty nice. And with hindsight, it would be better if the whole glass mechanism had been out. But since it was in, I didn't go to the effort of taking it out. But yeah, another time. Anyway, so that's in, and I just need to do the same now with the lock mechanism. Now the lock mechanism is very similar. It works on this flap here, and although it's underneath, in reality the top is the same. So there's a little hole here, and as you turn this, it moves back and forth. So I just need to attach another rod. Okay, it's going to be underneath, but basically going and doing the same thing. So that's the next thing. I might have to take it all out of the door in order to get that in. This is a real fiddle actually. I'm kind of unsurprised that they moved away from this style. Right, so I've fiddled long and hard to get all the bits joined together, and locks and handles and everything not quite done, to be honest. But one thing that emerged because I was looking at the inside of the door was this thing. which belongs actually on the other end of the door, where these big bolts are. And as you can see, there's quite shiny new bits in there, but I've just removed the last of the old ones. Can you see it? The state of that. There's virtually nothing left of it. This is, was it 4mm plate? This is what I mean about this car. If it hadn't been made of fiberglass, it would have disappeared altogether. With steel that has gone as far as that, I'm just amazed. So that'll be another little aspect of the job, is finishing off the job of replacing all these hinge reinforcing plates. So I've got that one there, which actually I think is not quite right, and it needs to be replaced on this side, which I haven't done at all. This one is fine, that's been done, but yeah, I'm just shocked at the state of that. Right, because going back to door locks again, because of the distance between the outer of the door and the where the lock is, I'm going to flip over the lock actuator. Makes it stick further into the door. That's the idea. So I've peeled back the rubbery thing. I can now get to the circlip. There we are. And put it back on the other way around. There we are. Put the circlip back on again, which I can't quite do with my fingers, so I shall just get a pair of pliers. Put the little rubbery thing back on. There we are. And if you can imagine the difference between there and where it was the other way around, that's at least ½ an inch without me doing anything else. Right, back to door locks on the Gilburn. I want central locking, basically, and I thought long and hard about how to set that up. Obviously there's the flap thing, traditional method, and that operates this push-pull thing over here. So that's all fine. And so, but also it operates this little lever up here, which is to go onto the actual external door lock. So the simple way I've come up with doing it is simply to have a push-pull motor attached like that. Can hardly be any simpler, really. So I'm going to fit this thing in here with a couple of screws, and that should work very nicely. And the door lock itself, the external door lock, I can join on with a bit of extra leverage and connect a rod from there to here, so that it has the same effect. So that's a little part that has been left undone up to now, as has actually this part while I mention it. So the operating rods up here, which you can't see because they're inside the door, they do have the unfortunate tendency to bend because they are about that long, and that's what this is for. You put that and they run between that kind of fork thing up here to stop them from bending, and then that makes them much more positive in their action. Unfortunately, I've only got one of these, and the other problem is it's too small because these operating rods are actually thicker than the originals. So I'm going to need to come up with something. Okay, I can probably, it's a bit stiff though, to be honest. I'm going to have to come up with something equivalent to that using some kind of P-clip or something of that sort. Anyway, so I just need to mark 2 holes. Now the lever is down, so therefore the motor needs to be compressed like that, and then when it extends it'll push upwards. So I just need to put 2 holes in there, which I'll need a small drill bit to make a mark, I think. Make it a little bit bigger. And a countersink on the other side, I think. So I'll just do the screw up from the outside. Carefully selected to be a nice fit into the motor itself. That looks good. And I'll just drill the other one. Now this one is fixed in position. There we go. Very nicely fixed in. So if I apply some voltage to these wires, we should see some action on the motor. So I just need to organise that somehow. And there we go. And there we go. That could hardly be any simpler, really. So I just need now to connect the keyhole lock, for want of a better word for it, and join that up with this rod, which I think will be actually easier, or simpler anyway, than the way that Gilban had it with a tower of nuts. So I just need a kind of S-shaped piece which can go in here and join up. So that's just the remaining task. So this is my pretty much completed mechanism. Thank you, light, for flashing at that very moment. So this is my pretty much completed mechanism with the power lock as it was before, but I've now got this arrangement for the actual key lock as well, and that's how it goes. Now I might alter this thing, as I want it to slide, because the key lock needs to have some free play in it, which isn't freely playing quite well enough. But as proof of concept goes, that's pretty good, I reckon. So I think maybe I might weld something to this rod and have it operating over here slightly. I'm pretty pleased with that, to be honest, and it works well enough. Yeah, it doesn't quite go down. You get the idea? So anyway, that is that's my mechanism for the central locking and the key lock, which I didn't actually complete previously. So well, almost job done, but I will just improve that a little bit. I'll show you another time.